Hi, good afternoon, good morning even. I hope you're all well. Lovely to be here today. Lovely to see you. I just thought we'd do this kind of unannounced preview. I apologize for the pink hue that seems to be going on. I'm not quite sure why my webcam has started giving me this delightful shade of pink. I have to go and figure out the cause of that at some point. But for now, I am slightly pinker than actually in real life. I look like I've got a bit of a tan, which would be quite impressive in today's weather. So I hope you're well. We're going to be going through today some of the races that are taking place. It's kind of miserable outside. I got up today. We went to Legoland yesterday. Took the kids to Legoland. Which was wonderful. Most of the day we had a slight drizzle, but we managed to stave off the thunderstorms until the last hour. So we did pretty well there, and they absolutely loved it. And today we kind of got up and had a bit of a lazy morning and sat down and started looking at some of the races. And it's grey outside and it's kind of raining. And I thought, you know what? Let's just do it live. Let's just come in. Let's jump on live. Let's see what we can find. Let's see who's about this morning, and let's see what horses we can find today. So if you are here on Facebook, please do leave me a comment below and say hi. You do that just by dropping a comment in on the Facebook group, on the Facebook page, I should say, just below this video. Drop that comment in, say hi. This is informal. It's unannounced, it's informal. There's no slides. We're just going to jump in and have a look at some races. So I also want to hear your thoughts on the races today, on some of the races that we're going to look at, and who you think might be some of the strong horses. If you're on YouTube, over on this side of the page, assuming you're on a desktop or a laptop, if you're on a mobile device, it might be a bit different. You're going to see a chat bar. To type in that chat, say hello, make sure you're here, get involved in the conversation, give me a thumbs up on the share buttons, the like buttons. That would be absolutely awesome. So if any of you could just, I'm just going to wait for a few more minutes before we dig in, because I can see there's still people coming in and joining us, which is awesome. As you come in and join us, please do say hello. It's lovely to actually hear from you and be talking to you directly. So please do just drop me a message, say hi. I'm going to be asking your opinions on some of the races as well. And while we're waiting for people to come in, just want to cover a little bit, a couple of things actually that are going to be happening over on RA, on the Race Advisor. The first thing is foundational strategies. There's been a lot of chatter about foundational strategies recently because I've been talking a lot about them as well, and some people are having some great results. In fact, it was lovely this morning. I didn't log into the forum at all yesterday because I just had a day with the kids. But I logged in today. The first thing I saw was a message from Graham just saying how well he's doing in the forum, and it's absolutely I love seeing that. It's absolutely awesome. Graham, if you're here this morning, congratulations, doing really well. I will reply to your forum post. I haven't got stuck into the forum yet today, but I will jump in there and reply to the forum post. But a profit of 71 units and 11 units from using foundational strategies in 15 days is pretty epic. So congratulations on that. And I'll jump over into that post in a little bit and say hi and reply to you. But so that's what we're doing. Morning, Ian, great to have you here. Mike, hi, great to have you here. Good morning, Debenhams21. That's obviously your username that's come in. I'm assuming you either work for or just are a massive fan of Debenhams. Either way, Chris, hi. It's great. It's a great day near York. It's a great day in Peterborough. We're just outside Peterborough. It's a grey day all over. It's clearly a very grey day, and Ascot is obviously shut down. So foundational strategies. So one of the questions I've been asked quite a lot recently is some days we can get a lot of contenders, and like yesterday there were loads of contenders. This happens because what we're trying to do is we're trying to shortlist horses. Now you don't have to look at every single horse on that shortlist. This is a shortlist. The days where there is a lot of racing, and this is a misnomer, a misbelief, I guess is what it is, because on the misbelief that there should only ever be 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 strong horses each day is quite frankly, in my personal opinion, absolute nonsense. Because on the days where there is a lot of racing, by definition, there's going to be a lot of contenders. That's just kind of the way it goes. On the days when there's not very much racing, there's going to be very few contenders. Now, that doesn't mean you have to look at every single contender. Don't forget, this isn't a It's not like if you don't look at one of the contenders, everything's going to fall apart. It's not. These are the strongest horses. If you haven't got time to look at all of the contenders in a single day, then don't. Just look at the first few, or maybe if you want to look at the ones of racing that you're going to be available at, look at those. So don't feel that you have to look for your strategy at every single contender each day, because we're all about finding value. We're all about making that long-term profit. That's the whole point of the foundational strategies. And when you use them with the FMFR method, then what we're doing is we're finding value. And if we're finding value, you're going to make a long-term profit. It doesn't matter whether you look at 1 today or 10 today, or 3. It doesn't matter. So don't get worked up or stressed out by not being able to look at them all. We're sending all the contenders. Look at the first 2 or 3 if there's a lot that day, or look at the last 2 or 3, or look at the 2 or 3 when you're going to be able to watch the races, whichever you want. You don't feel that you have to do them all, because there's going to be more tomorrow. Every day there's more contenders, okay? And we're trying to find this long-term value. That's what we're searching for. That's what we're hunting for. That's what we're betting on. And when we're betting on that, actually, if we miss some here, we miss some there, it doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter if you don't look at one and that one wins. It's fine, because some of the ones you've looked at will hopefully win. And if they don't, they will tomorrow, because we're looking for value. We're always looking for value. And I got this email the other day from someone who was getting the contenders strategies, the contenders from strategy 1 for a few days. And he said to me, he said, well, they're not doing very well. He wasn't quite that polite, but he said they're not doing very well. And to be fair, he had them for 9 days. I'm pretty sure he hadn't been following the FMFR method. Like I keep saying, you must use that. That's where we gain a big advantage. There's a reason for that. There's a reason I put it out. And that's where you gain a huge advantage. Yes, there's an advantage at the base level, at the start, straight out the box, but you need that FMFR. Anyway, and I thought, okay, well, let's have a look. Let's see what he's done. He's right. I had a look over the 9 days that he'd been getting them, and they made a loss of around, if you just the contenders without implementing the FMFR method, made a loss of about 7 units, I think, in that time. However, they'd won 28% of their bets, and the odds had indicated they should only have won just over 17%, I think, or 18% of their bets. And that's what we're looking for. And I know over that time frame they'd made a small loss, but actually we have a massive advantage because we are winning 28% of the time. He had been winning 28% of the time. And yes, we just happened to have not got into a profit. We did a bit of a losing streak, whatever. But he'd been winning 28% of the time. But the odds being taken at Betfair SP, assuming he wasn't beating Betfair SP, which of course you can also do, but assuming he hadn't been beating Betfair SP, the odds that he'd been taking had suggested he should only have won 18% of the time, but yet was winning 28% of the time. Now, if you're doing that long term, you will make a profit. It is mathematically impossible to not make a profit if you're doing that long term. And that's what we're after. That is our goal. That is our focus. That is our aim. So we're going to look at a bit of that. And we're going to use a bit of these techniques in a minute when we're going to get stuck in. The other thing is we are going to be temporarily shutting down access to new members for RA Pro. So if you're already in RA Pro, you're fine, that's okay. But I might do it actually after we finish this live, but we're going to be temporarily shutting down access to new members to RA Pro. So if you're not in yet and you want to come in, make sure you join. I'm going to just drop a link there into the chat. And the reason for this is that actually we are focusing on our members. We're focusing on folks like Graham, who's doing kind of really, really well. And we want to really help them use RA Pro as a tool to become long-term profitable, which is what we're all about. So access to RA Pro is going to be closing down for a while. We'll be opening it up intermittently to new members as we have time. And as you know, we're also building the system builder and things like that. So if you're not yet a member of RA Pro, there's a link. Go on, jump in if it's something you've been looking at. And I'll probably be shutting it down at the end of this live. And then you'll be able to join a waiting list if you want to join it. Okay. Now let's have a look at some races today. So here's my screen. I always get the button wrong. I got it right first time. Look at that. Awesome. Okay. So a fair amount of racing today. I think my portfolio has got like 110 contenders in it today. Something massive like that. So shall we just start with I tell you what, let's start with the 105 at Newmarket. And the reason I'm going to suggest this, and then I'm going to come to you. So I'm going to start with the 105 at Newmarket, and then I'm going to come over to you. And let's look at a race that you want to look at. The reason I'm going to start the 105 at Newmarket is because I've got some contenders here from a foundational strategy that's not yet released. So it's not currently available. I'm still running it live myself, just to confirm that it's all working as it should do. So let's take a look at this. And this foundational strategy is based on Dutching. So it finds horses that we want to Dutch in a race. Okay, and so the contenders, and it finds quite a lot of horses in a race. Now, we expect it to win around 28% of the races that we Dutch in. And there are some races that aren't Dutch bets, but the majority are going to be Dutch bets. And there are also some place as well, but we're almost always going to have multiple horses in a race with this foundational strategy. So one of those is obviously the 105, and that happens to be an early race on. So let's take a look at the contenders for this are Zinc White, Meritorious, and Waran. Okay, so let's just highlight these. And this is a maiden stake, so we've got very little information, so we're not going to be spending too long on this, okay? Waran, Zinc White, and Meritorious. Oh, didn't select Zinc White there. There we go. Those are the three contenders that are found by this. And obviously, as I'm going through this, any questions, just drop them in. Drop any questions in, and that can be a question to do with this race. It can be a question to do with the foundational strategy. It can be a question to do with how I'm analyzing it or what we're looking at. Or, do you know what? It could just be a question to do with horse racing or RA in general. So whichever you want. So here we go. We've got three horses here. And this is a maiden race. So one of the first things we're going to do, I mean, we can see that we've got no VDW scores anywhere for the horses here because we just haven't got enough information. You can see half of them haven't raced, and the ones that haven't exactly done well. So let's just start here with our PR odds column. Okay, so interestingly, Zinc White is kind of third favorite there. The other two are kind of at the bottom, but we're basing this on very, very minimal data. Bolshoi Ballet has a 41%, and this is almost, I mean, it has to be down to connections, okay? And the reason this has to be down to connections is because this horse hasn't raced. So this has to be primarily based on connections. So for me, I'm not going to put too much weight in that on this particular race. The most important thing in these races is the Betfair odds. They are some of the most predictive factors. And currently we're seeing here Zinc White is kind of third favorite in the market. Mystical Dawn, Bolshoi Ballet are both first and second respectively. Meritorious is right down here, 17.5. That's a bit of a concern. Waran sitting in the middle. In these types of races, that is also a little bit of a concern, to be honest. There's very little data elsewhere. I mean, we can see that obviously Zinc White performed better than Waran. If we open the speed graphs here for the limited amount of races that we've got, you can see we've got up here Zinc White and down here Waran. I mean, so that would immediately say, well, we're not really interested in Waran. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But that race was on flat turf, good at Newmarket, class 4, with a distance of 1,540 yards. This was a bit of a longer distance. Again, flat turf, good. But a much, much better speed figure. Today, just so we're aware, we're over 1 mile, which is this distance of around 1,760 yards. So there we have very, very strong indicator that Zinc White is better than Waran immediately. And obviously the point of the foundational strategies is that we're looking at just those horses that are contenders. So for me, Waran is kind of probably out, a bit of a concern. We'll jump over to the horse's history there. First of all, we're going to look at the PFP. There's going to be, again, it's very, very hard to see because the horses that have raced didn't do so well. And we can see they've dropped down a bit. Zinc White didn't perform that greatly. We're going to have a look at that in a minute. So his score hasn't really moved. And obviously the horses that are haven't had a race yet have the base level of 1,500. So there's not really very much to say between them there. So we're going to open the horse history. Let's just see what Zinc White's done here. So Zinc White in this race at Salisbury on the 3rd of September over 1 mile on good ground. Essentially exactly the same conditions that we have today, was beaten by 9.7 lengths. Got slow into the stride, was soon midfield, ridden and then outpaced over 2 furlongs out, stayed on, but no chance inside the final furlong. Soundly beaten really there. So what we're seeing here for me is Zinc White from those contenders is clearly going to be the strongest. A little bit of concern, so possibly an 80-20 bet if I'm going to go on it. In the place market, let's just have a very quick look at the place market here. The place market is currently offering 1.63 on Zinc White. So that's you'd make your stake back on an 80-20 bet. So Zinc White potential, a couple of negatives here in that it's third in the market. So the market thinks there's potential. That's a really good thing, but it's not kind of the first two, which is where we'd ideally like it to be. However, it has raced before, and we've seen that it's significantly better than While Ran. We didn't look at Meritorious. I do apologize. Let's look at Meritorious here. Looking at Meritorious, we got beaten by 28 lengths over a 7 furlong race, but it was on soft ground. So there's not really much about this horse either that we can look at. We haven't really got much information there. So it's going to be for me in that particular race, Zinc White. 80-20. I wouldn't be going for the Dutch bet in it particularly. But Zinc White would be the one I would be following on an 80-20 bet in that particular race. Okay, so is anybody else going on in that race? Let me know if you're going on in that race. We're going to look at another race now. If there's any races you particularly would like me to look at, please drop in that time. If not, in the meantime, I'm just going to move to another foundational strategy race. And I should say as well that actually the foundational strategy number 8 that those contenders came from that we just looked at, Zinc White, Meritorious, While Ran, they are also indicated to be place possibilities, assuming their odds are 3 or less in the place market. Currently, they all are. So that would be another indicator, and that would also be why I'd be happy to go on Zinc White at an 80-20, because we've already got that highlighted for a possible place value as well. All right, okay, let's jump into another race. I'll just come over here, see if he's there. Oh, Mike, he's just said Zinc White's just dropped in apparently to the joint second favourite now, which is that's a really nice indicator. Actually, that's a nice indication that actually this horse is possibly better than the market's currently thinking. Okay, all right. I'm going to move into another race. If you want me to look at a specific race, please do drop that. If you've got any questions, please do leave me a comment, leave me a message. I'd love to know who you are following today, which foundational strategies you're using, if you are using a foundational strategy. If you're not using a foundational strategy, let me know how you're currently finding your selections and whether it's working for you or not. Okay, I mean, I use foundational strategies myself. That's where I start every morning, every day. As I say, I have quite a big portfolio. I run around 100 selections a day. On a busy day, it could be 150. But I've always liked high turnover. Don't forget, if you have a lot of contenders in a day, you don't have to follow them all, because long term we are looking for value. Value will make you profit. That's the end of it. It doesn't matter whether you have 10 contenders or 3 contenders. It doesn't matter if you've got 15 contenders, you can only look at 2 and use the FMFR technique on 2 of them. It doesn't matter. Don't get stressed about not being able to meet all the contenders. I'm chuckling here because my wife wants to come into the room and she's trying to do it silently. So you can come in, it's fine, yeah. Right, we're going to jump into the next race. Are we able to look at the Fontwell 329? Yeah, absolutely. Let's have a look at that right now. The 329. Do you know what there are some foundational strategy contenders for the Fontwell 329. There are actually foundational strategy 1 and 3 both have contenders from it, but let's focus on foundational strategy 1, because I know there are some people here who are RA Pro members who may be getting foundational strategy 1 contenders, because you can get those separately to RA Pro. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be shutting down RA Pro to new members for a little while after this live stream. So if you want it, there's a link above. Go and grab it now, because it is going to be shutting down to new members, I should say. Now we're going to be closing access to new members for a period of time. So the 329, let's look at strategy 1, hijack. And if Daniel, if you've got a specific horse that you like in the 329, then please do let me know. Drop it in here. I'd love to know why you've chosen it. If you've got it from one of the foundational strategies, if you come up with it another way, let me know. And I would love to hear why. So foundational strategy number 1 today. Let's have a look at font 1. Now there are 2 ways if you're an RA Pro member to get to another race. We can come up here and we can select font well, and then we can come and choose the time through 29. The other way is these little 3 bars at the top right here. If we click on them, we get a sidebar that just slides out like this. And the right hand side of this sidebar will see races. And then we can come into Fontwell, and I can go straight to the 329 there. So not everybody realizes that's there. So that's a quick way to just access races directly if you're in RA Pro. We've obviously got a bunch of non-runners down here. These have been pulled out and eliminated automatically. There's 5 non-runners there. And when the non-runners come in, we automatically strip those out of your race cards in RA Pro, and they become eliminations. Now, as I said, foundational strategy number 1 today has hijack as a contender. So let's have a look at hijack. Let's start by looking at hijack. First of all, if we sort by PR odds, we can see immediately hijack is there at 1.66. It looks like we've got a bit of an issue with the Betfair odds feed coming in for this race, which might be artificially pulling that down. Let me just message our developer to find out. We've been finding recently, Betfair did an upgrade about, I think it was about 3 or 5 days ago now, and we've been finding we get these intermittent delays since doing it on our updates. We do use an API that we are looking to upgrade. It's going to be upgraded hopefully early next year, so we get millisecond feeds. But at the moment, the API we're using seems to occasionally hit delays. This will automatically update, hopefully in the next kind of 5-10 minutes, and it will refresh itself when that delay that we've started to experience again has been pushed through. But occasionally we can force it. So I'll just message our developer team and see if they can force that through for us. But if you see that at the moment, then please be aware that that is occasionally happening. And it's coming from Betfair. We are getting a delay, but it will repair itself. But clicking on any of these odds opens Betfair directly for us, straight into that, as you can see here. So we can just have a quick look here. And what I'm going to do, actually having a quick look at that market, we can see that our hijack is currently the favorite with Jacquemart, second favorite. And what I'm going to do is coming back over to the race card here for hijack is I'm going to click on PR odds and actually have a look at the raw scores. When we click on PR odds, we get this overlay. I call them overlays, and it kind of just sits on top of the ratings that you've got on your race card. And you can always tell when there's an overlay because it's got this orange bar at the top. And hovering over, if you're not familiar with iPro, hovering over any of the columns gives you a little pop-up box that you can't see on these live streams, but a little pop-up box that explains exactly what that column means. And we can see here, hijack is the highest rated for PR odds with 40%, and the next one is 30%. So it's quite a big jump down there. So that's a good indicator. We've also got the raw odds over here that we would expect hijack to be at 2.46, currently in the market at 4.1, again showing value. Interestingly, hang in there as well. The next best in the market, according to this, 3.31, and sitting in the market at odds of 5. So both looking like there's value there. We expect them to be soaking up around 70% chance of winning the race before merging with the live market. Okay, so that's the first thing. The next thing is I've noticed up here, VDW win, VDW place. And I'm going a little bit more in depth than the FMFR method. So the FMFR method that I recommend you use, whether you're using it with the contenders from foundational strategies, whether you're using it with your own contenders, it doesn't matter. I recommend you use it with your contenders. Full stop. It's super powerful. It's very effective. It will allow you to read form, even if you've never read form before, very, very rapidly. I'm going into a little bit more detail here than that technique, and don't feel that you have to. But that technique is the best way to start reading form, even if you've got no experience. It tells you the 4 things that you just need to check on your contenders, the most important things that you have to check before deciding whether to place a bet or not. Today, I'm going into a bit more detail, and you can do this. So when you've got that strategy working, when you've got those contenders working, if you want to go into more depth, if you want to get a little bit more experience in actually analyzing races, then you can go ahead. You don't have to. It's totally optional. But if you want to, if you've got the time to, then you can. Obviously, the FMFR method has been designed to actually allow you to do that form reading section in about five minutes or so once you're used to using it. But I'm going to go into a little bit more detail here today. So the VDW win percent is 80% here and 96%. And that indicates that the VDW scores are quite powerful for this race. The VDW scores we get by clicking on any horse's VDW odds. We get another one of these overlays. You can see that, the orange bar at the top. And I'm focusing on the score, because what these VDW win and place race percentages mean up here means that actually with our proprietary VDW score, historically in similar races, the top 4 horses have won. Well, one of them has won 80% of the time, and at least one of those top 4 horses has placed 96% of the time in similar races to this race. This is an indicator that VDW is a good predictor in this race. And our VDW doesn't follow the to the letter the standard Van der Waal ratings. We actually score them slightly differently. We've updated them, we've upgraded them, we've made them better predictors, and then we've combined them, including live market data, into this VDW score, and then obviously VDW odds as well. But that's how this works. The VDW odds is kind of an odds version of the score. And that's how it works, and this allows us to see whether we might have potential value. But because this race is showing a high level of prediction, and that's just sitting here, or I'm highlighting my cursor up here, I'm going to be interested into whether Hijack is in the top 4, and it is. It's joint 1. We got Hijack up the straight here, number 1, and then obviously joint 2nd hang in there, and Carlo. This score will change because we do incorporate live data, live odds and live market information into it. So this score will change throughout the day leading up to the race, but currently it is saying that actually Hijack is looking very, very strong here, based on VDW. So that's another nicely strong indicator. And yes, Ian, the delay on Betfair odds that we're currently getting, that I'm hoping, I have been told, will be resolved by Betfair shortly, that we do keep an eye on. We try and kick it into place if possible. We try and kind of push their API, or the API we're using. Betfair actually have multiple APIs, and the one that we're using, because we've been integrated with them for a long time, it is kind of the last one to get fixed because it's one of their older ones, which is why next year we're going to upgrade that. But it does affect this raw PR odds because we merge it. The best thing to do in this situation, if you see this, is just to click on it and look at our raw odds here, and you can see that straight away. The other way you can do it is you can actually delete the merge. So you see up here we've got public odds. Currently we weight 55% towards the public. We could just change that to 0, and all the PR odds will change because we're no longer including the public odds. And if you are an RA Pro member, here's a little tip here. When you get near to a race time, if you're kind of like 5-10 minutes away from a race going off, just bump this up to like 70% or even 75% there, and it will change all of them because it's going to weight towards the market. 75% importance on the market, 25% importance on our odds line, because we know the closer to the time of the race, the more accurate the market is. So we can just adjust that manually on each race. We can fix this setting in our settings across all races, but depending on what time we're looking at the race and how far away it is, we can adjust it per race. So if we're looking at this in the morning, you might actually want to drop it down to 30 if you're getting involved in your analysis, because the odds are going to be less accurate. And if you're really close to race time, you might want to have it at like 70, 75. Our default is 55 because that's kind of the best setting across all time frames. That's the best kind of average. Okay, so far Hijack is looking good. It's also number 2 here, 5278. You'll notice if I sort by this column here, number 2 is actually the first one, and that's because number 1 has been removed. It's been eliminated down here. It was Calondra. So number 2 is now the top rated in the race. So Hijack is also top rated for 5278. Hasn't had a good race for a while, but it's in a field of runners that haven't had a good race for a while. So that's not a huge concern. In terms of speed, It's number 2 from its last race, adjusted for today's weight. Pardon me, hiccup. It's had 3 out of the last 10 good races, 30%. Like that to be a bit better, but it's not horrendous. Finally, I'm going to have a quick look at the PFP. And it's 1506 here. And now we've got some horses that are much higher who haven't been performing so well. We can just see that here. 6, pulled up, 5, 7. So fell 5, which is quite interesting. I'm going to come back to that in a minute. But first of all, I'm going to jump into the horse's actual form, which is how we use the FMFR method. So this is the FMFR method. This is how quick it can be. So Hijack was a contender. I've already gone through a few other pieces, but if you weren't going to do that, you're just going to jump straight into the FMFR method. We can jump in here and we can go, right, here we go. Let's start here. Let's have a quick look at similar race times. The race that the horse is about to run in is a hurdle turf race going over 2 miles, 3 furlongs for 9,500 prize money, and the ground is soft. So we want to start by looking for similar races here. And actually, when you are in either you're on RA Pro, remember you get the video where I show how to do this, or you getting the daily contenders from Foundational Strategy number 1. You can get access to that FMFR method video as well through that. I break this down to 4 very simple steps. But we're going to look for the similar races first. And we've got here a soft race, 1 mile, 7 furlongs. These are both a lot shorter, but they're both on soft ground and they're carrying similar weight. And we'll notice that the horse won both and won by a good length. So 3.25 lengths, 3.5 lengths. However, we come up to a 2 mile, 4 furlong race on good soft ground, and it was beaten by over 20 lengths. It doesn't matter that the horse came third. The horse was beaten by over 20 lengths, nearly 21 lengths. That is a bad race. Even though the horse came third, that is a bad race. It did not run well. But we can see here, if we hover over it, that it made a mistake at the last jump. It was weakening anyway, then it made a mistake. So probably wouldn't have performed well anyway. But the fact that it was weakening and made a mistake and still came third, even though it was beaten by nearly 21 lengths, indicates the quality of the other runners in the race wasn't very good. Now, this race was actually a 6K race. Today's 9.5K. So the class today is much better. The difference here, though, is this was good to soften. The horse is carrying 11 stone, 12 pounds today. It's back down at 10.13. And that's a huge, huge difference. It's performed well at 10.13. But is running about another 4 or 5 furlongs today, but has run well at 10.13 over a shorter distance. If we come down here, look at this again, the slightly longer distance, we can see the game made no impression. So there's a little bit of a concern over the distance of the race for this horse. It can definitely perform on the ground. This is going to be the highest class it's been in to date, but can definitely perform on the ground. But the slight concern here is distance. Can it cope over the distance? I'm not 100% confident it can. Now, when we're not 100% confident about something, that doesn't mean it's not a bet. That means that we want to get more value from the horse. I'm not confident in that. This horse looks good, but there's a question mark over distance. And that gives us 2 things to consider here. The first is, do we still want to bet in this race? And that question should be answered based on the odds of the horse. Are the odds of the horse high enough for the risk that we're expecting to make it worthwhile betting? So that's the first question we want to answer. And if the answer to that is yes, then the answer is how do we want to bet? Do we want to actually follow it in the win market? This was a contender for the win market. Strategy number 1, contender for the win market. But just because it's a contender for the win market doesn't mean we only have to bet it in the win market. We can consider another bet if we're a bit more risk adverse and we don't want to follow it in the win market. So let's come back and have a bit of a look at that. If we jump back over to Betfair, we can see here that the odds are currently 4.2 on Hijack. Jacamar's dropping down 4.7. Hijack's drifting slightly. So it looks like these two possibly may become joint favorites here. We got a lot of non-runners, as we already know, in this race. If we come over to the place market, we can see currently Hijack's 1.62, Jacamar's 1.76. Now, the other horse that we were most interested in was actually Hang In There, who's sitting down here at 2.1 in the place market. 1.62 is high enough. If we were to do an 80-20 bet, let's see, you can see we make a £4 86 profit. You can see it over here. If we're going to do £8 to place, £2 to win, so we would more than cover our win stake if the horse only placed. And still make a profit. So that's a possible here. And we could even do that in the 4-place market. Okay, the 4-place market is not properly formed yet. There's not really any odds here. So we can't jump into that. But there's a possibility we may be able to do that in the 4-place market. But we can definitely do it in the 3-place market, in the standard place market for this. Coming back to the win market, odds of 4.2. Okay, let's jump back over to the race card. Do we think that this horse is worth odds of 4.2? Now, that definitely indicates value. Odds of 4.2 indicates a 24% chance that the horse is going to win this race. We, or the PR odds line, is saying it's a bit higher. Even when this is merged with the live odds, there's still going to be value there, okay? The big question mark here is distance. Can this horse actually make this distance? There's nothing to indicate it can. And in fact, there's indications it can't. So that's the question that we're actually seriously asking in this race. I'm going to give you my answer to it. I'm going to look into something else here to see if we can discover that answer. In the meantime, let me know. Leave me a message and let me know if you think this horse can actually go the distance in this race. Will it compete in this race? Have you looked at this race? If you haven't, don't worry. I'm going to come to my answer. Daniel, I assume you've looked at this race already. Let me know if you think that Hijack can go the distance in this race. Without looking at many of the other horses in much detail, we've already clarified that from a VDW perspective, Up the Straight, Hang In There, and Kaluni are going to be the competitors here. Based on PR odds and contender lists here, we've got Hang In There and Up the Straight being the strongest, Kaluni being the next strongest. Let's do a quick Monte Carlo simulation. Let's see. While I'm waiting to see what you think about this race, let's just run a simulation and see what comes in through this simulation. If you want to leave a comment, if you're on Facebook, drop a comment just below the video. That comes in there. If you are on YouTube, you can do that in the chat bar over here on the right-hand side of your screen. If you're on a mobile, it might be somewhere different. Also, please don't forget to hit the like button, hit the share button. Let other people know you're watching this video. We're going to look at this race. I'm nearly done on this race. If you want to see another race, drop me a message in now. Let me know now what race you'd like to see. Otherwise, I'll choose one of my own races. But if you'd like to see another race for us to have a look at this morning, please do drop that in now. Reminder that if you're not yet an RA Pro member, we are going to be closing access to new members on RA Pro after this live event. So if you want to join RA Pro, please do go and make sure that you do that now, because we are going to be closing it down so that we can work on supporting our existing members more. We've got a system builder coming out that's taking up a lot of time in terms of development and in terms of me checking. If you want to join RA Pro now, let me just drop that link on here for you. Here we go. You just need to go to the link that I'm about to share on the screen. There we go. I'm just going to put that on your screen now. There we go. There we go. So there's that link there if you do want to join the screen. Okay, now let's jump back in and have a look at the distance for this horse, Daniel. I selected Hang In There for the race. Let me just drop this up here actually so we can show it to everybody. Daniel has just said that he selected Hang In There for the race, as has won over slightly further on softer heavy ground, but was slightly worried about the rate. Let's have a look at it then. Let's just jump in here, have a look at Hang Over. Okay. Here we go. We're on the horses here. Hang In There. Okay, so we've got more history for this horse. Now, just as a reminder, the race that we're currently looking at is the 329 at Fontwell. It's a handicap hurdle. It's soft ground, 2 mile, 3 furlong race, over 9,500 prize money available. Hang in there has previously is carrying 11.12 today. Hijack's carrying 10.13. So let's just start here in terms of class. Now this horse has had races over much higher classes than this. We've got 18k, 28k, 17k. We've had a win at one of them, so it can win in higher class races. And that win was on soft ground, which is the same as today. The other two, it performed really badly. And if we look at the comments, there's nothing. We've got a blunder in the second to last race, and then it weakened, and it fell in the last race. So possibly some jumping concerns there in that higher quality, but it has shown that it can win. It won by 3 lengths. That's a decent win. Was carrying 11 stone in that race. Today it's carrying 11.12, so an extra 12 pounds, which is a significant amount. Plus, it's running over 2 miles 3 furlong, which is the same as the last race. Sad that it fell in that last race, and it fell 2 out. Up to there, looked like it had a pretty decent run based on the in-running comments. Obviously, that was a higher class race. So, slight concern over jumping ability. Carrying 11.9 there, but the ground was a little bit firmer. Let's drop down a little bit. We've got some good ground. We've got a race here, 11.12. It was good to yielding, 2 mile 4 furlong. Now, this was a similar class race here, 9k. Was only beaten by 0.75 a length, carrying 11.12 over 2 miles 4 furlong. That's a furlong longer today. The ground was slightly firmer, but it was slightly longer. So that would indicate that the 11.12 it's carrying today is not going to be a huge issue. The ground is softer, admittedly, but it shouldn't be a significant issue. It's proven here it can run with 11.12. It can run with it on that softer ground. Now, if the ground is really, really heavy today, that could affect this slightly. But I'm assuming it's not kind of going really sloppy, then this horse, Hang In There, has shown it can run over similar ground and is likely to be a strong contender in this race. I would agree with you, Daniel. So that would be my answer to that, Daniel. I would actually I would say Hang In There is a strong horse in this race as well. I agree with your assessment personally, and I would actually say it's probably looking stronger than Hijack, which is the contender that Strategy 1 came up with, and this has got all to race for in this race. And actually, let's just jump over here, because we were saying that the market was shifting a bit, but Hang In There. If we jump back over to the market, it's currently in there at 6.6. And I would be very comfortable betting on Hang In There actually as an 80-20, or probably an 80-20. Hijack, I still think, has that potential, but there is that concern over the distance. And if I come back to looking at Hijack for a second here, let's just undo these to see if we can get a better answer. Let's Hijack there. Let's have a look at the speed graphs. We're going to load the speed graphs here. I'm going to zoom straight in for recent races, and let's just. I want actually hurdle turf, and I want soft. Let's see if we've got enough data on soft ground to give us some points here, and we do. Look at that, and let's zoom in because there's not much before this time. And Hijack is there it is. This horse here, you can see it here. We've got a race here on that hurdle turf soft ground. And improving there. So we're seeing improvement, but it's by no means the best, or even, I mean, it's competitive. The horse is competitive under those conditions. But look, we've got up here, we've got Distingo, who's performed well. Hang In There, also looking strong. Fleur Irondale, looking strong. Miss Tint, looking strong. Now, some of these are going to be non-runners, of course. Fleur Irondale is a non-runner. Distingo's a non-runner. So if I just take those two off, Fleur Irondale, Distingo's a non-runner. We've also got Did They Leave You Too, Group Stage, and Calandra are also non-runners. So Group Stage and the others aren't on there because they've obviously not run under races that meet this filter. So that changes the picture a little bit. But back here, we've also got Up the Straight. So Hijack has definitely got potential here. But there is this concern over distance, and it's not kind of outstanding. It's not just sitting above everything else. So for me, Hijack, I'm a bit concerned about, has potential. Would consider doing it an 80-20 bet, like we said before. Hang in there, I would say, is looking strong. We've already said that hang in there is also one of the threats to hijack. We pointed that out straight away with the PR odds. We pointed that out straight away with the VDW score. We've now confirmed that using the past form, something else. So hang in there would be the other horse that I'll be looking at in this particular race. Okay, Janice, thank you very much. That's very, very kind. Thank you very much for that comment, Janice. I certainly do my best to try and help every RA Pro member to achieve that goal of profit and long-term profit. And my focus is actually helping you to achieve that in a way that works for you, so that actually you are in control of it. That's why we use foundational strategies. That's why I ask you to do a little bit of work on like use the FMFR method and then come back to me with how you're analyzing them, so I can look at what you're doing and how you're seeing it, and then we can work on adjusting that and changing that as well. So that is my goal, is to allow you to not only become profitable, but to become profitable in a way that you're in control of, that works for you, that you're happy with, and that also you can scale if you want to scale it. You don't have to, but you can. You can add other strategies if you want to, but you may not. Some people do, some people don't. So that's the aim. And as I say, we are going to be closing access for new members to RA Pro after this live event. You can join at raceadvisor.co.uk/join RA at the moment, but we will be closing it down, and that's so that I can focus on helping our current members get to that point where they want to be. We've got a system builder coming out that's going to be absolutely awesome. It's going to be totally different to anything else out there. There's obviously a lot of development work going on with that as well, which is taking up quite a lot of my time. That's why I want to make sure that we haven't got more people than I can support. Okay, so Ian's asked if we can look at the 145 red car. Absolutely we can. Let's go and have a look at the 145 red car. Now, there is a foundational strategy that actually has a contender in this particular race. So I'm going to ask Ian, do you want me to start with that foundational strategy contender, or should we just jump into that race and see what we can do? So I know there's a strategy that we've got in our members area. It's not a foundational strategy. It's actually in our archive strategy section called In and Out, where you just jump into a race and you jump out of a race. And the idea of this is a bit like trading. So if you've ever tried trading, sorry, I realize this is covering my face. Let me just hide that. So if you've ever tried trading, you'll know that you kind of jump in a few minutes before a race, and then you make your decision, you jump out. And this strategy is focused on doing exactly that, except not trading, except just placing straight bets. The reason this can be really effective, now it does take practice, but the reason it can be effective is because you've not got the time to doubt yourself. There's not time to doubt yourself, which is key. So you can't second guess yourself. You jump in and you jump out. We don't second guess what we're doing. We give ourselves, when I showed it in the training video in the members area, when I showed how we did it in that and how to do it, I was doing it literally as the races were happening. Here's a race is happening in 5 minutes. We've got 5 minutes if we want to bet on it. Jump in, see what we can do, jump out. Jump in, see what we can do, jump out. You haven't got that time to second guess yourself. You haven't got time to doubt yourself. It's quick, it's snappy. We have to find, because of the time limit, we have to find the strongest horses first. We've got to eliminate horses. We've got to make a decision. The decision is either, are we going to bet in this race, or are we not going to bet in this race? Is there a horse that has odds good enough based on the risk we've assessed it to be for us to place our bet? That's what we're doing in that strategy. So I'm going to do that here, and that's absolutely no problem at all. So we're going to jump into that. Hi, Andy. Welcome. Thank you very much for that message. Just going to jump that up there on the screen before we jump in. Andy is fancying it for a big run at Fontwell today. 50 ball for G Moore. Fingers crossed, Andy. I'm assuming you're already on that horse. So best of luck. I hope it comes in for you for that big run today. Okay. If you would like to share any other selections with other people, please, in this live, please do drop them in. We've got loads of people here today. It's absolutely wonderful. Loads of you on Facebook, even more of you on YouTube. If you want to drop in who you're going to be betting on for the other people in this live at the moment, then please do drop that in. Leave a comment on Facebook. Drop it in the chat over here on YouTube. And of course, hit the thumbs up, hit the share button, hit the like buttons. Let people know that you are enjoying it. Okay, so we're going to jump now into the 145 at red card. We're going to use this jump in, jump out strategy. I'm going to give myself a 5-minute timer. Do you know what? Let's put a timer on. Let's do this in a. Okay, let's open the race first. Here we go. Here's the 145, and let's find a timer. I've got a timer here, so I'm going to jump a timer. Here it is. Let's put a timer on the screen, and that timer is going to be 5 minutes. Let's see if we can do this in 5 minutes. Okay. Whew, okay. I feel like I'm about to start a race here. I'm going to go fast. I'm going to go fast for the next 5 minutes. Okay. Here we go. Are we ready? 3, 2, 1. Right. There's that timer. Okay. Right. Let's do this. The 145 at red card. It's a handicap race. Predicted pace, fast, flat turf race, soft ground, 1 mile, 2 furlongs, 4,000 prize money. We've got a VDW place of 90%. VDW wins 71%. 71% is a little low. I think I'm going to go with the 90%. Let's have a look at the PR odds first. I'm going to highlight the contenders. We've got the 2 contenders here. We've got another contender that's already been eliminated. So I'm just going to take the next best horse here to give me 3. Okay, I'm not going to go into them any further than that for the moment. I'm going to compare that against the VDW score. The only one that matches here is Mac Ailey. I'm going to make a little note, not on the drawing that my daughter gave me. That was a bit too close. Hang on. I'm going to make a little note down here. Mac Ailey. Okay, Mac Ailey. Right. That's the only one that crosses over there. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to run a Monte Carlo simulation. Oh, I didn't mean to press the exit button. I'm going to run a Monte Carlo simulation on this race. I'm going to do 1,000 simulations. I'm using the standard race card to do this. If you're an RA Pro member, you can choose any race card. There are unlimited race cards that you can make as an RA Pro member. We have the most comprehensive set of ratings available that I know of. And actually, there are some people out there who are doing that. I got an email the other day from a member who'd found one rating in particular that is super predictive in his races that he is analyzing. Very few people use it. Obviously, I'm not going to share that here publicly because that wouldn't be fair on him because he spent a bit of time researching that. But we have the most comprehensive set of ratings available. You can use any of them on any race card. We have a standard race card, but you can make as many race cards as you like. You can add custom ratings to those. You can add your ratings to those custom race cards. I recommend to have between 3 and 10 ratings per race card. You don't need any more than that. More than that is overkill. More than that gets complicated. I recommend really up to 5. 5 is kind of a good limit. If you're going over 5, there should be a really good reason why you're going over 5. Okay. But you can run these simulations. You can see here I've got a few race cards here. Some are test race cards. I don't use those. But we've got some race cards here. This is where we select them from. You can run your Monte Carlo simulation on any of those race cards. Now, here is the results of that simulation. I'm halfway through. Here is the results of that simulation. Mac Ailey is at the top. There's a bit of a jump down here to Dutch Coed. Then they come down. Blistering Barney is way down the bottom. So I'm going to remove Blistering Barney. I'm looking at Mac Ailey and Dutch Coed. So I'm going to remove Blistering Barney. I've got these 2 horses. I'm going to jump into those horses' historical races very quickly. Mac Ailey, soft ground 1 mile furlong. So let's scroll down here. We've got flat, soft ground, 1 mile. Here we go. This is very close. 2 furlongs, almost identical race. 10-9. Is carrying a less weight today. Was beaten by 13 lengths. That's not particularly good. Let's keep going down here. Another 1 mile, 2 furlongs. Beaten by 2.5 lengths. That was okay. Carrying 8-10. That's close to what it's carrying today. This was obviously far too much weight for the horse up here. Going down, going down, going down. Those are all the soft ground ones. Let's look at good to soft. 1 mile, 1 furlong here. Beaten by 0.5 lengths. That is good. It is the horse is carrying significantly more weight today, but has shown. So the horse has definitely got potential. Dutch Coed. Let's have a look at Dutch Coed here. Dutch Coed. We're looking at soft. 9-9, beaten a lot over similar conditions. Coming down, soft race, 1 mile, 1 furlong, very similar. Carrying 8-11, it's carrying 9 stone today. So this is very similar. Again, beaten 4 lengths. Not much confidence there. Keep coming down. Hamilton, soft, 1 mile, 1 furlong, beaten 10 lengths. So I'm not really liking Dutch Curve very much. There isn't very much there to make me confident in that particular horse. I'm going to come back over to the race card. We've got 1 minute left. So I'm going to click on the Betfair odds and let's have a quick look at the market here. Okay, I've got a small bet that's been fired in by one of my bots over here into this market already. It's on Tarnhelm. But let's have a look at Matt Ailey up here. Odds of 3. Okay, odds of 3 here. We got a couple of doubts about this horse, so let's have a look at the place market. The odds are a bit short for me. If we're coming into the place market, we do a bet here, £8. We can make it as an 80-20, but there's probably not much point. It's looking very strong from a place perspective, especially when they're talking about 3 places. And we've only got, how many runners are left in this race? I think it's 9. So we've got a 33% of the field here is going to place. So looking very strong from that point of view. I've got a couple of concerns about the win market side of things. So I would probably go in this race as a place bet on Matt Ailey. I'm not sure those win odds are high enough. I think the place odds are actually okay. If I was going to go for a £25 bet in this particular race, we'd be looking at kind of a 12.25 profit. That's a 50% profit should the horse come in the top 3. I think that's a reasonable return based on the risk of that horse placing, which is quite good. Okay, so that is how we do a jump in, jump out strategy there. I can see a question there about these £2 bets. You'll notice when I'm doing these live, I'm doing more and more £2 bets. That's because I'm running a bot, firing off a lot of bets automatically on a portfolio that we're building out to show how you can go from a very small bankroll using £2 bets and scale it. Using high quantity turnover selections, high volume of selections. That's firing in. It's currently been running only for about a month. It's a long way off from us sharing it because we need to be running it for at least 6 months, possibly a year. So it's a long way off sharing that out there. It does do very high volume. You can get a lot of volatility day to day in it. So you need quite a lot of units. We're using it with about 200 units. But the idea is to show how actually long term you get a nice steady growth if you use large portfolios and high turnover. So that's what we're looking at there. But that is a way off from sharing it. I have got something I want to share with you in a minute when we get towards the end of this live session. I'm going to draw us to a close. I know we've got a few questions here and a few requests. I'm going to go through those, but I'm going to share something else with you that we haven't yet told anybody about. I'm going to probably tell you about it next week. It's awesome. It's free. And I'm going to let you know about it. And I'd love to know your thoughts on it, whether it's something you would like. In the meantime, RA Pro is going to be closing access to new members at the end of this live. If you haven't yet got your membership, head over to raceadvisor.co.uk/join RA. We're going to be closing it down because I want to focus on our current members. We'll open it up intermittently. There will be a waiting list for it. We'll open it up intermittently to the waiting list. And the reason for that is, as I say, I want to focus on our current members. I want to help them succeed. And then we are also developing the world's greatest system builder. In my opinion, it is the world's greatest system. It was absolutely awesome, and I want to get it out there for our existing members as soon as possible. And so it's requiring quite a lot of time from me in testing and checking and making sure all is going well. So that's why we're going to be closing down access to new members for RA Pro. If you aren't yet a member, you want to join, go to raceadvisor.co.uk/join RA. Okay, coming back over to the chat. If you haven't yet left a message in the chat, leave a message in the chat. If you're on Facebook, it's below. It's just here. If you're on YouTube, it's over here in the chat bar. Say hi. Share your selections with the other folk that are here with us today. And we've got around 50, 60 people with us live at the moment, which is absolutely awesome. Please hit the like buttons, hit the share buttons if you enjoy these. Let other people know that what we're doing, that you enjoy it. I love doing these live events. This was kind of ad hoc. So it wasn't planned. Just thought it's a bit grey, it's a bit drizzly, it's kind of raining. I'm out the windows here. It's a bit miserable. So let's jump in live and let's see what we can do. Okay. Have we got time, Chris? Have we got time for the 155? Andy. Let's just drop these up. Andy is sharing one of his selections here. Garum Park 345, a good each way bet. Andy's saying a good each way bet today. Garum Park 345. She's Comanche. So if you like that race, the 345 race, she's Comanche. Head over there, have a look. Andy is on that horse. Ginger is on the 245 Newmarket half light 14-1 from there. Ginger Giant. Love the name, by the way. Love the name. Love the username. Absolutely awesome. Being quite ginger myself, you can't see it in this bizarre pink light that seems to be coming from. I'm not really sure where. I promise I don't have like a pink lamp up here just glowing pink on me. I'm gonna have to find a way to light this a bit better now the days are getting a bit darker and a bit grimmer. But Ginger Giant is on half life at 14-1 and 245 at Newmarket. I'm going to look at one more race now, the 155. Chris has asked if we can look at the 155, so we're going to jump over to the 155 race. And let's see what we can find. Now, is there a particular way you'd like me to look at this race, Chris, while we get into it? Would you like me to go at it, pardon me, from a foundational strategy perspective? Or would you just like me to look at it from a raw, let's jump in and see what we can find perspective? Tell me how you would like me to look at that while we just jump into that race. Which did you say, 155? There isn't a 155. Did you mean 150 at Tipperary? Let me know if you meant the 150 race, Chris at Tipperary. There is not a 155 race today, so it's going to be very hard for me to jump into a 155 race. Is there any other races that you would like me to look at? I'm going to do one more race. We're going to have a look at one more race today. So far, we have done, I think it's 3 races. There's 2 or 3 races that we've done so far. If there's another race you'd like me to look at today, I'm going to do one more. I'm going to wait a couple of seconds to see if there is one more. Sorry, Chris. That was the before the change of race time. Oh, it has changed. Right, you're right. We have just done the 155. Look at that. Okay, sorry. That's me getting confused while talking live and kind of checking the comments and everything at the same time. As you can see. That's also it's good to show that actually. So this was, I'm just going to leave this page here. That was the 155 at Redcar, which was the second race at Redcar today. It's now become 145 here. The Market Cross Jewelers Handicap. Is that right? No, it's not that one. Has it become 215? Now, where are we? Change of times. We do change our time. So the live data that comes into RA changes live. So as it comes in, you can see up here, Ascot became abandoned. If the races change times, they will change on the dashboards. So things do change time. The data for RA Pro, it's live. It happens in real time. If the ground condition changes, it will change here. Everything happens in real time. If you're using a rating that is on the current ground condition for the race and the ground condition changes, we recalculate it to show it for the new ground condition. Everything is real time in RA Pro. It all happens live in your so if there are no other preferential races, let me just take one to look at. How about the I don't know, the 210 at Newmarket maybe. Here we go, 210 at Newmarket, Fillies Handicap race. Why not? Here we go. Fillies Handicap race, flat turf, 80%. Look at this, BDW win, 80% and 96%. Now, if you like a particular factor and you're an RA Pro member, let me just show you something here. If you like a particular factor, let's say you like VDW particularly. If we come over to the foundational strategies, and you can see that there are currently 7 in the members area. If you open them up, you can see here that I show which ratings we use in each of them just down here. And you can see here, if you like a particular factor such as VDW, you can choose a strategy to follow. Strategy 2 obviously uses VDW. Strategy 3 doesn't. I don't think any of the others do at the moment. I think I've tried to spread out the factors that we're using. Yeah. So if you like VDW, you could just come in and say, oh, I like VDW. I'm going to use that. I'm going to use strategy number 2. And I would suggest focusing on a single strategy. Get that working for you, and then look at something else. And you can see here that straight out of the box, this one has a 4% advantage and a 37% strike rate. So that's kind of another way of doing it. But we're just going to jump into this race here. Do a little bit of form reading, a bit more classical approach here, and see what we can find. We've got VDW win 80%, VDW place 96%. This is a good race for VDW. So I'm going to look at it on the VDW score, and we can see here we got these are the 4 horses, but they aren't even. Otima Boti is clearly the best on VDW score. Be More second best, and then we've got a bit of a jump between Be More and Mole Davis and Moonlight in Paris. Okay. Next, I'm actually going to run, and I'm going to look at 5278. Moonlight in Paris and Otima Boti again. It's the same 4 anyway. Notice we've got the same top 4 here. That's important. That's the same top 4. Moonlight in Paris and Otima Boti. Previously, it was Otima Boti and Be More. Moonlight in Paris was further down, just so we can remember that. Next thing we're going to look at is Dayson's last good race. None of these 4 horses have particularly extremely long periods of time, so I'm quite happy with that. I'm going to sort by bet fair odds. I don't like to bet at over 29 to 1 or 30, so I'm just going to eliminate Geranium there, shrink that field down a bit. Next, you'll see what I'm doing here is I'm running with the big boys first. I'm going with the big tools. I'm looking for the big broadcast bird's eye view images of the race initially. I'm going to run the simulation. I'm going to leave the default settings. The default settings generally are going to be absolutely fine for most races. I'm running this on the standard race card. We can use the custom race cards, but I'm using this on the standard race card. Just highlighting here, Chris has asked you if you looked at the 145. I think asking, did I look at the 145 race? I did not. Did I look at the 145? God, my memory. I can't even remember if I looked at the 145 race. Now, that was the one at Redcar. I did look at the 145. It was 155. That's the one. The 155 became 145. Our timings then changed dynamically in Race Advisor in RA Pro. Our changes when they announced the change of time from 155 to 145. All of our race cards obviously changed their times, and I did look at that race. And Chris, my preferred in that race was Dutch Coed, I believe it was Dutch Coed for an 8-20 bet, or no. Oh God, no! My memory's already gone. I have to come back and have a look at it. Did I actually place the bet? It might be no. I think it was Mac Ailey to place. I think it was Mac Ailey to place in that particular race. This is why it's so important to make notes. Normally, actually, I would have placed the bet. Normally, when I go through these, I place the bet. I don't actually know why I didn't. I usually place the bet as I go through them because otherwise, this is what exactly happens. I forget what I have said because I'm not taking notes. Usually, obviously, in my own betting, I'll be making the notes, so I'll come back and I'll know which horses I've made notes on. Obviously, there's not time to do that when we're running this live. I think it was Mac Ailey to place. It's the horse that I was going to go on that race. If someone could actually remind me of that, that would be wonderful. I'll go and place that bet. Okay, so this simulation is now finished. And we can see here, Otima Boti is at the top, Mole Davis next, Be More next, and then Moonlight in Paris again. It's the same 4, and that's the first. At the end of Moonlight in Paris, we have that big jump down. So these 4 horses are looking to be the strongest in this race. Maybe we've got Dutch bet potential here. I'm not sure. If we saw by PFP, however, we see Moonlight in Paris not looking quite so strong. Okay. Also, if we look at the good races in the last 10, the same thing. Moonlight Paris not looking quite so strong. Of those 4, the win history, Otima Boti has a great win history, effectively 33% there, coming down to the other 2. Iconic Choice has never won. There is no win history. It is 0. That means there is no win history. Generally speaking, I do not like betting on a horse that's never won. So that would probably knock out Iconic Choice for me from this race. Let's have a quick look at, let's have a quick look at pace. We're predicting the pace to be true. So a true pace race means that we're going to get a leader or an early presser most likely to often win this race. So and it can be an early presser if that horse gets a good start at the beginning. We're going to put the pace overlay here. You can see it's an overlay because we've got the orange headers. Now, the running style is the running style that the horse has indicated it most prefers. That's not the running style that we necessarily expect the horse to be able to achieve in this race. It's the running style that the horse has historically indicated it most prefers. That doesn't mean it can't win or perform well in different running styles. It just means that its past results would indicate it prefers this running style the most. That doesn't mean it's going to get that running style in this race. To check that, we look at the total pace column. Okay, and the total pace column shows us the expected pace in this race. The higher that, the more likely the horse is to be a leader. Now look here, we see straight away there isn't really any strong leader horses. Instead, we can see that these top three, Affable, Moonlight, and Paris and Mold Davis, are most likely to lead by default because the others are most likely to stay behind. But there isn't a strong leader horse here. At the back. Now, these two, Otimaboti and Be More, suit that. Their preferred style is closing, and they look like they're going to be closing type horses. These two, there is a possibility Moonlight and Paris Maldays might get to the front and burn out. That's a possibility. This race is 1 mile 2 furlongs, so if they're leading that pace initially and they don't like it, they like to be mid-pack, they could burn out. That's a little bit of a concern from a pace perspective. I think I've already actually opened the speed graphs once, but let's open the speed graphs again. These are pretty busy, this speed graph. So we're going to apply a filter. Flat turf, first of all. It's a soft ground. So let's start with a small filter, just race type and ground condition. And we can see here that reduces it a lot. I'm not going to put distance in or anything else because there's not going to be enough when we do that. Okay. Thank you guys. It was Mac Alley to place. I'm going to go place that bet at the end of this. Thank you very much for that. Okay. So at the end of this race, if you've got any other questions, drop them in. When we finish this race, I'm going to call it a day for this live stream. So drop any questions in. I'd love to know who you're going to be following in this race as well. Don't forget, RA Pro is going to be closing access to new members at the end of this live stream. That's so that we can support our current members. We'll open it intermittently, but there will be a waiting list. If you want to get access to it at the moment, go to raceadvisor.co.uk/join RA. Okay, so here we are. Let's have a quick look at this graph. Now, this horse is looking good. Wondrous Words, recently strong here. Big jump up. The same happened over here. Mold Davis, that was one of those contenders that we had previously highlighted. This horse here, Iconic Choice, a little bit of a downward spiral from his last race, but a big difference. I mean, that was back in 2019, and this next race over similar ground was September. So dropping down here, we've got Moonlight in Paris is significantly lower, bit of a concern for that horse, and then we've got Kaleidoscope that wasn't on our list. Geranium we already knocked out, and Be More is kind of looking a bit average. Affable is looking nice and strong here. Wondrous Words looking nice and strong here. Okay, now I'm just going to kick out the ground condition for a second, and we're going to get a lot of noise. Okay, too much noise. So we're going to go soft, soft to heavy, and good to soft. So either side of soft, and let's apply those. That just gives us a little bit more spectrum without giving us too much noise. So all the conditions where the ground is a little bit softer. And we can see here, Wondrous Words, look at this spike and then this drop, bam, down here. Good to soft ground up here, really liked it. We've also got up here Geranium. Look at this. We see a bit of a different picture here with Geranium, increasing steadily. Affable still there, kind of in the middle. We haven't got really much for Otimaboti, Mold Davis, or Be More yet. So let's have a look at some of these. Mold Davis looking nice and strong here now, up here. Otimaboti is orange, sitting over here, kind of midfield. So Moonlight in Paris, it's kind of down here somewhere. Where were we? There it is. Still not looking good. So a bit of concern there, Moonlight in Paris, which we've already mentioned anyway. Mold Davis looking strong. Otimaboti are kind of looking pretty much middle of the pack, and Be More the same, kind of sitting here. And then if we reset that to put all of the races on, and we just zoom into the most recent races here, just to get the full picture, we've got Geranium, Goddess of Fire. Now, I removed Geranium because the odds were too low, and they still are, and I'm going to hold with that. So I'm not, even though Geranium's looking good here, I'm not going to go Geranium because the odds are too high for me. Sorry, I think I said low then, too high. Be More looking nice and strong now. When we start to actually pull back, that was obviously on good ground. We're going to go into a little bit more detail on the races there. Kaleidoscope, mid-pack. Who else have we got here? Iconic Choice. We can obviously see here, we can look, if we want to, just at those contenders that we've already found by removing the other horses from the graph. And there they are. We can zoom out if we want to get the bigger picture of them as well. We can zoom out here. So we can see here, Moonlight in Paris has this spike coming on into that last race, but it was good ground. If we drop down to here, soft ground, significantly worse performance, which is obviously a concern. Be More looking nice and consistent up here near the top. Ultima Boti, this last race here, a bit of a concern, was on heavy ground. Still not looking overall hugely strong. From a speed perspective, to be totally honest, and Mole Davis is really looking better. So Be More looking the strongest. We've got concern over Moonlight in Paris. Mole Davis looking okay. Ultima Boti sort of okay as well, with Be More kind of sitting near the top. Okay, so that's the speed graphs. Where does that leave us? That leaves us with kind of, I'm not really very happy about Moonlight in Paris. I'm going to take that horse out of contention. That leaves me with Mole Davis, Ultima Boti, and Be More. And I like Be More. Be More's looking to be quite nice and strong. So let's now jump into their form and have a quick look in the form as well. All right, here we go. In the form as well. All right, here we go. So I was just seeing your message there from Chris about Mole Davis. Thank you very much. Chris thinks Mole Davis is a concern. Great class. Okay, so let's have a look here. We've got Ultima Boti. Just a reminder that the race that we're currently looking at, flat turf, a soft ground, 1 mile, 2 furlongs, 27,000 prize money. We've got a heavy race here where Ultima Boti won. That was the last one. That was the one that had the poor speed figure, but obviously can compete in those races under soft ground, despite the speed figure being poor. Coming down here, we've got another good race here, won by half a length over good to firm ground, but 7 furlongs. So this last race is the only real one. There's a big jump in class here. Flat turf, 1 mile heavy. This will be why Ultima Boti is getting strong. I think carrying 5 pounds more today than it was here, but has indicated that that's not such a concern, but it could be a concern over the soft ground because we saw that speed figure here. So potential there with Ultima Boti, but a little bit of concern over the weight and the ground, whether it can match the speed of the other horses. Be More. Okay, Be More here is... we've got 1 mile, 2 furlong, 12k on good ground. Let's try and find some soft ground races first. Here we go, soft. Carrying 812, won by a length at Newmarket, lower class, but soft ground. Not a huge difference in the weight, 6 pounds. Furlong race, a little bit of a lower class again, but won again by 3/4 of a length. Dropping down here to a lower class race here. Soft again, but won. So this horse obviously likes it. We've got good indications it can run at a good speed over soft ground, much faster than Ultima Boti, despite Ultima Boti having done well on heavy ground in terms of placing positions. The speed figures show not actually quite so good. So Be More there is probably a preference. And Mole Davis was the final. 1 mile, 2 furlong here, but that was good. Coming down here, 1 mile, 2 furlong, significantly lower class. Here, soft ground, 1 by 4.5 lengths, carrying 9, 5 carrying 9, 12. Pardon me, today. So carrying much more weight, but obviously likes the ground, likes the distance. There's another soft race here over 1 mile at Haydock. Was beaten 3.8 lengths. No particular mistakes there that we can see in running comments. So that could just be that was the horse's first race warming up. So the horse definitely likes the ground. The horse definitely likes the distance. The question is over the class. Can Mole Davis compete in the class? If we look at Mole Davis from a speed graph perspective, you'll see it's purple here. So yes, the answer to that question would be yes, but B More would be my preference. So B More looks to be the strongest for me, with Mole Davis being a potential contender. Oti Maboti, I've got concerns over the speed under soft ground. If we look at all of these speed figures here, they've been held over good ground. The slower ones are significantly worse. So B More, Mole Davis for me in this race. But then how do we bet on those horses? So I'm just going to take out Oti Maboti. Let's see what the market is saying. They're currently joint second and third in the market. If we actually open this market here, let me close some of these races. I've got a bunch of Betfair tabs open. If we open this market here, we can see here that B More is currently sitting at 5.7. Moonlight in Paris is now the favorite. And Mole Davis is 7.4. So I quite like both of these horses. I think let's have a look at the place market. 1.97 on B More and 2.34. I think the odds on both of these horses are actually pretty strong. So the question now is how to bet. Would I go for a Dutch bet? We could Dutch bet B More and Mole Davis. I'm tempted to go for a win on B More, to be honest. I quite like that. But the place markets are also showing value here too, which reduces the risk. But I quite like this. I think Moonlight in Paris odds are low for its chance of winning. So actually, I think for this race, I would probably go on B More and Mole Davis for a Dutch bet here, like this. I would expect one of these. My preference is for B More, but I also like Mole Davis, so I'm just going to go for a Dutch bet on there. If you wanted to, you could definitely offset this with a place bet. You could do an 80-20 to reduce risk, but though that's how I'm going to go in on that race. I'm also now just going to come back to Red Car as well. Where were we? Red Car. It was the 155 bet. I haven't changed their times, and I'm going to do that place bet here on Mag 80 that we said here. There we go. Right, I think actually the odds have dropped on that runner since we were looking at. Okay, the bet's gone in. Perfect. Okay, so sorry, am I on the right screen? I was just doing that without sharing the screen. I do apologize. I thought I was on the Betfair screen. I was still on the race card screens. Okay, so I hope that we've enjoyed that. If you've got any questions, leave me a question now, because I'm gonna bring this live to a close now. But please do leave me that question now. If you've got any questions, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. It's just unannounced. Jump into today's races, see what we've got here. It was wonderful to have so many people join on it. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's been of use. Any questions that you've got, please do drop them in now. I said I was going to ask you something before I went. I'm going to ask you this. I'm considering doing a fun run. I'm going to call it a fun run, possibly, which might be a lucky 15 each day. It will be on Facebook, particularly because there's one of the ways that we can only deliver how we're thinking of delivering it will be through Facebook Messenger. But would that be something you would like to see? Would you like to have like a fun run day each day, a fun run bet each day where we just try and hit a lucky 15? It's a fun bet. It's not looking for a long-term value. We're just kind of doing something for a bit of fun, a bit of excitement each day. Maybe a lucky 15 bet, possibly an accumulator, something like that. A fun run, I would call it. Let me know if that's something you would like to see. We are going to be closing access to new members to RA Pro after this live event. I'll leave it open for maybe half an hour or so, but we will be closing it today after this live event so that we can vote for new members. So you will not be able to get access as a new member to RA Pro after this event this afternoon. If you want to join, please go to raceadvisor.co.uk/join RA. When you join RA, whatever price you join it, and you will be locked locked in at that price. The prices will be going up when the system builder is released in a number of weeks. As soon as that's released, the prices will increase. So if you want to get access to RA Pro, go and do that now. raceadvisor.co.uk, join RA. I will close it this afternoon after this live event to new members. Chris, is there an optimal race card for the Monte Carlo analysis? There is no optimal race card for it, Chris. So the Monte Carlo analysis will do it on whatever ratings you've got. The standard race card is a great default one. It covers that. Unless you have two options with the Monte Carlo analysis. You can either try and do an analysis very heavily on a particular angle, say speed, form, class, whatever you want, and then have 3 to 5 ratings that just measure that angle and see how the horses come out from that angle. But remember, it is from an angle. Alternatively, try maybe choosing one factor from each of those primary conditions. So a form factor, a speed factor, a class factor, a connections factor. So you got 4 factors, and then run it just on that. So you're getting an overview but of each of the primary 4 ones. Okay. That's the other way of doing that as well. But there is no specific optimal. Different users have ones that work really well for particular race conditions that they have created. But no, the simulator will run a simulation whatever we put into it. The standard works very well. The standard race card works very well with it, but you can obviously do each of those 2 angles. Okay, well, if there are any more questions, I'm going to say thank you very much. Thank you for joining me. Have an absolutely wonderful day. I know it's kind of grey out there and miserable, but thank you very much for joining me. Please do head over and join RA Pro if you haven't. We will be closing down access to new members for a period of time. It will become a waiting list. You can join at raceadvisor.co.uk/join RA. Ian, do you mostly use the standard race card, or are there other rankings you add or remove? I actually do mainly use the standard race card that you can see here on the screen. I have my RD overview race card. This has far more ratings on it than I would recommend. This is for me. I like to just get an overview. I don't recommend having this many ratings on a race card. I recommend between 5 and 10 ratings, and this has got, I think, about 20 or even 25 on it. But I like this as it gives me a big overview if I'm kind of doing, I haven't actually used it today, but if I'm doing live events, I can see everything in one card that we may want to look at. Generally speaking, though, I actually do use the standard. As you can see here, I have some specific ones. I've got ones for stat pack contenders, Dutching one, 90% winning bets, which follows a particular strategy. I've got one for actually foundation strategy number 1 as well, and then some tests, as well as obviously in-play information. But no, I use the standard one as my default go-to one. And then I kind of branch out from there. Okay, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for joining. I will drop the link in if you want to join RA Pro today before we close access to new members. I'm going to drop the link in here in your chat. You can click on that. If you've enjoyed this, please make sure you hit the like button, the share button. This recording will stay on our Facebook page and our YouTube page. And we will go through that. Oh, one more question from Chris before we go. Do you still consider races for runners who have no handicap form in handicap races? Yes, Chris, I do. I do. And the reason for that is I think that we can then find value in those horses because a lot of people don't consider them. And if we can figure out that handicap that they should be and whether it's good or not, we can get a nice edge in there. So yes, I do. Okay, lovely. Have a wonderful weekend. It is the weekend. Have a wonderful weekend. Have a great day of racing. And I will see you very, very soon. Okay, take care. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Thank you very much for joining me today. It's been absolutely wonderful. And I will see